economists out there that are egalitarian for everybody, and now they're saying that it's bad. That these people are trying to they're trying to bring down the stock market and the economy, and finger Trump and this whole thing. I'm so tired of the BS. I get it from everywhere. All these people that I trust in, I hear blathering nonsense from them, and I think, what is intellectual dishonesty, man? It runs deep. People are not being genuine. Do they want the system to fail, or do they want it to succeed? What are their solutions? What are their answers to really fix this thing and never let it happen again? Permanently, that we the people gain control of the destiny, our financial destiny, so social and political destiny. Okay, and that's the end of the story, and things just get better and better and better from that point on. I mean, so hard, man. People just not getting it or not wanting to get it. Willful ignorance. I don't know what the hell it is sometimes. Some of this stuff I've already talked about. Yeah, it's very fishy, all these named individuals on these bombs, these fake bombs. The media was so quick to show who all these were sent to. So you can see anybody that doesn't like those people. Now you're a suspect. Maybe it was you that sent these fake bombs because you don't like those very people you've named by name ad hominem, and you must hate them. And what would you do to get back at them? And so, I mean, you understand. So it's a self-inflicted wound. The sympathy card. There's some more sophisticated terms for this, but this is what people do. A lot of times, they got to always feel sorry for themselves. And, when they can see that people figure out that they are guilty for a reason because they are guilty for some bad stuff in society. And so they finger themselves in a pseudo manner just to confuse and conflate and just take the focus off them and on their enemies. So, I mean, the incentive for a fake false flag frame up type thing is great on the part of all those recipients of those fake bombs. That's what I'm saying. Think it through. Think it through, folks. The mainstream media is not going to encourage you to think it through. I am. They're calling the mainstream media is calling George Soros the liberal donor to progressive causes. Oh man. So, that's pretty much admit out in the open that they fund what they do with that money they get from George Soros, this multi-billionaire, is it goes to fund Antifa like groups. Okay. I'm not saying Antifa specifically. I don't know all the ins and outs. So I'm not going to say that. But it's these groups, these coalitions where it's been seen over and over. They get bussed into events and they cause disruptions and troublemakers. They're paid troublemakers. Okay, this is what was going on in Nazi Germany, the brown shirts and stuff. There's, sequestering free speech, saying it's a bad thing, that these people are hateful, but they're filled with hate. Out of one side of their mouth, they blame you for the hatred, but it's just obvious hatred out of the other side of their, it's sick what we're going through here in this country. Sick, man. I mean, the devil is always in the details. I watch a lot of these court shows on TV. I like the People's Court with Judge Millian, and recently they started airing Judge Judy. And you know what? I see over and over again, it's always the money. The devil is in the details. Can you imagine over a few bucks that people are at each other's throats? Literally, a few bucks. I just watched a forensic file, I think it was, where some kid in his early 20s, a 20-year-old black kid, he went into a convenience store, shot this woman in the head, and took all the money, like 200, 300 bucks or something he got. So if you're against ending desperate poverty, You're by default, you're for that status quo continuing, that state of affairs in America to continue. Just remember, I'm for getting the cat skin anyway. Triage, man. Bind the wound on the collective body of humanity where it's hemorrhaging. And if that's not hemorrhaging, I don't know what is. I worked in a convenience store before. Okay? They say it's one of the most dangerous jobs in the country. Steve Pagenik saying that California is cooked. I mean, they say that people are leaving, but again, there's never been a time in history that I know of when the population of California was dwindling. That's just not true. It's still the most popular state in the union. Geographically, physically, it's not the biggest state. Of course, but Alaska and then probably Texas, I guess, and Florida is probably a close second. But it's still, for whatever reason, the most popular state. So say what you will, but it might just be out of jealousy, and you should check yourself. And that's what draws all the destitute people here, is because if they have to live outside, at least they know they'll survive here. You know, and going off about pedestrian bicyclist safety last week, you know, I started driving at 15 and a half years of age, and that was some 45 years ago. And I've seen a lot of stuff in that time. And, you know, thank God that I have never hurt anybody. I'm very glad for that. I don't want to. And the longer I drive, I feel like my odds keep going up. You know, my eyesight not being as great as it used to be and all this. But the last thing I want is to, you know, hit some homeless guy walking out in the middle of the road. I mean, you've got to have laws about people, you know, enforce jaywalking laws, or just at night, at least, make sure that pedestrians are lighted along with the bicyclists. I just don't want bad things to happen. Ever since childhood, I can remember being at Travelodge Motel in Palo Alto, California. My family, I must have been about 5 years old, I guess. And swimming in the pool. And the El Camino Real was a main drag that ran by there. And the cars weren't nearly as safe. The speed limits were too high. But there was a horrible pileup, and these people were running around and bleeding. And this guy looked like his hole in his eyeball was hanging out of its socket. And that stuff makes a great impression on you when you're a little kid. And I saw a guy get run over and killed when I was 16. You don't get run over, actually. When a car hits you, it propels you forward. So that's what happens. Bounces you off the windshield. Typically, if they're going at any appreciable speed, even 25 miles an hour, it'll send you flying forward once you bounce off the windshield. That's what I observed when I was 16. So I'm a big proponent of pedestrian bicyclist safety. I've had many close calls, avoided many accidents that wouldn't have been my fault. Well, it looks like I've pretty much covered everything, either previously in the pontification period or in the recent events I had written down. I'm going to start with some current recent thoughts where I ended last week. Since it was and is God that gave us the ability to procreate, to populate the earth, does it not stand to reason to suggest that it is also God whom is responsible for controlling human population, and not mere humans? The trick to alleviating your concerns regarding overpopulation is to first of all believe and trust in a higher power, i.e., a Creator God Almighty. Beyond that, at least use your God-given ability to imagine, to think of answers to the problems you see, perceive, and believe overpopulation causes. For example, traffic and parking, natural resource depletion, and pollution. And believe me, folks, the solutions are there. How good would it feel to know with absolute certainty that every person serving in society to any capacity was doing so entirely by free will choice, with no possible monetary or ulterior motive? It would feel very good. That's a world I want to prepare myself for. For far better to be numbered among the oppressed than the oppressors. Ideally, it is essential that we evolve to be neither, to learn, to achieve, to evolve, to be neither oppressed or oppressor. All those whom would think to slight those everyday workers doing jobs imperative to the welfare of society are a despicable, ungodly lot, whom are destined, wittingly or not, to hell. In a